Welcome back. Glad you could join us. I'm Table Runner Crispy, and I'm not alone. Usually I'm alone. You may read too much into that. I am not alone. I have with me here a guest. I appreciate having a guest. It's not common. Chubby Funster is here, and we're going to have a conversation about an exciting project. And would it be fair, Chubby? Is it fair to say that it's a kind of a labor of love, like this particular
Oh yeah,
project's one that you've.
definitely because and I felt this on like the core audience that I have built up
Mhm.
is not really a vampire audience. So
Right.
for me, it was like I just want to write this. Like it's not like, oh, I think this will be a good thing that people will appreciate. What like it was like it just poured out of my head. Like I had a day where I was working on my GM companion, and I
Mhm.
realized that the random neighborhood generating system in
Mhm.
Shadow Dark is called districts. I was
Mhm.
like, I could use this to make a whole city for vampire, and then it was like the floodgates opened, and I spent like 2 or 3 days just like furiously scribbling notes and coming up with systems and stuff. And
Nice.
so like it was an involuntarily produced product almost like it just my brain was like, this is gonna be born.
So now you mentioned, just to come back on something you just said there, which I found was interesting. You said this isn't your core audience. Describe a little bit to me what your core audience is. You've got other products that you have for sale, I believe, on drive
Mostly
through.
medieval fantasy stuff. I have a
Okay.
couple of non-medieval fantasy stuff things, but usually those are also things I wrote for myself and I just shared.
Hmm.
For instance, I like the Alien RPG,
Hmm.
and running the modules, they're fantastic modules, very, very well written modules. But there's things that it doesn't describe there because it's more of a narrative, not story gamey, but focused on narrative beats of how the modules should play out because
Okay.
they're trying to like replicate the fear and the emotion, right?
Right. The
But
tension and all of
yeah,
that.
but they
Hmm.
don't put the old school kind of focus on particular items like how much air is in this refill canister. Like,
Right.
so they have a system where you lose air from your suit, you have to go refill it from the refill canister, and I'm like, what are there 300 units of air in this canister, or are there 20?
Sure.
So I just started making all these notes as I was running the modules, and eventually I just published it as like guidelines from the company or something like that. Like it was just
Sure.
thing. And so I was just notes like that. But almost everything that I do is in the medieval fantasy space,
Nice.
and
Nice.
I it really took off with Shadow Dark. I was doing okay for a while, but then Shadow Dark came along, and those pieces were very, very, very successful. And when you're a creator, you go where the love is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's generally very strong motivator.
Hmm.
And so for a long time I've been producing, I think it's like 12 supplements in 2 years or so, for Shadow Dark. And I've written a couple things for Adventure Conquer King, which I also think is a fantastic game.
Hmm.
It doesn't really move units the way that Shadow Dark does. It's just the reality of the network effects.
Hmm.
But I, I was so deep into writing this stuff for Shadow Dark, and then
Hmm.
like I just got hit by this vampire thing, and I was like, I have been looking for a solution to this problem for like 8 years. I have multiple folders in
Okay.
my graveyard of shit that never got finished.
So
And
like this. Can we? I'm very interested in this.
yeah,
That this was something that you felt was not easy to write. Not that it's just you were inspired to move forward with it, and it is. It does seem to be different from your
yeah,
normal your regular audience. So do you have a background where you played some Vampire the Masquerade, but way
I did.
back in the
Yeah,
day? And tell
I
me a little bit about that.
this I don't say it this way because it's like a lot of times people take it the wrong way, but like I love Vampire Bloodlines, the video game,
Okay,
better
cool.
than almost any vampire tabletop experience because it gave me what I wanted out of Vampire. which is I'm like a super stealth commando who can just go in and F people up, right? And you're exploring locations, you're moving around. Like there's some narrative, there's some plot there, but it's mostly like what would happen if you as a vampire fought 4 cops at the same time? Or what if this like and it gave me that stuff. And when I played the tabletop, it was always very slow and it didn't move the way that I liked.
Right.
Even with a great GM.
Right.
It just didn't give me the kind of gameplay that I want. Like I don't think anybody could run Blue Rose in a way that I would love.
Okay.
Just by the nature of the system, or there's a bunch of games that just don't like the gameplay they're generating does not match what I'm looking for.
What you're looking for.
Yeah, and so I've for like 8 to 10 years, I've been trying to come up with solutions for that. And I'll come up with like a fragment of it, but it's not enough, like there was a time when I had this idea of mapping the buildings off of like, you'd have like an elevator shaft and then like floors coming off, and you just randomly rolled up, but it didn't work the way that the node map thing in Shadow City worked. Like it was too clumsy. It wasn't like, it didn't work right. I came up with an idea of creating like city blocks in how I was mapping the city. But then I'm like, how many cities are perfect blocks? It doesn't work right. And like none of the solutions over the years worked. And I had tons of notes, all these different powers and ability things I thought would go in the game. But I just could never get it to where there's like a threshold of like, if the design doesn't get up to that threshold, it just dies on the vine and I move on to something else. And
right. Question for you. And again, I'm just making a few notes for myself, and I'm keeping an eye on these comments. Let's go to this comment here because they're asking you a question. This commenter, K Dolo, he likes to stir up trouble.
I know, he was doing that last night.
He says, I actually like the slow, introspective Vampire the Masquerade games. Also, any influence from the game BloodNet? I can't say
I've never played BloodNet. I don't know what that is.
Me neither. But if I could ask a question, you said that from your experience of a tabletop role-playing game in the vampire setting, it wasn't replicating the gameplay that you were looking for. Could you just take a few minutes and describe what type of gameplay is Shadow City shooting for? Like you've made some decisions, some design decisions. You've gone with the bones of Shadow Dark. Is that fair to say that it's Shadow Dark compatible? What is the gameplay that we should expect from Shadow City?
Right. So the gold standard for me from old school, I'm a old school guy, is running it where the main kind of I don't know if play loop is the right thing, but kind of it's a thing that just keeps happening as you go, is that the players will be presented with a problem.
Okay.
And it is most of the time a physical problem. In D&D, you're in a dungeon, there's a puzzle, there's a trap, there's whatever. It's a physical problem. And the players work together to come up with solutions for that are real and physical, right? So in like an old school game, somebody will find a cave with a bunch of goblins in it and go, whoa, let's not even go in there. We're going to build a huge fire right here at the mouth of this cave, and we're going to then blow all the smoke into the cave until the goblins come out, right?
Right.
So that's like never going to happen in a story game where it's a narrative, because you're not grappling with the physical reality in those games. You're using game mechanics like hero tokens or malice points, and you're affecting things without actually thinking about how it interacts with the object. And so I've always been, my most successful products have been based on equipment very heavily, because I put tons and tons of equipment into the book. Say, here's things for the GM to just rain down on the plate, tools, things to carry things in, If you just give somebody a bunch of empty sacks with dirt and rocks in it, they'll figure out a way to like use that to do some kind of Indiana Jones thing.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what people want to use tools for. And Vampire is almost always, in my experience and what other people have told me, I've talked to a lot of people about Vampire the past 3 months or so, and there's kind of a consistency of it doesn't go into that. Everybody's trying to solve problems with their powers on their character sheet rather than with the game world itself.
Right.
So for me, the focus is on how do you describe and create that game world in as realistic a way as possible for them so that they can use that game world to do things, right? And so I like it when players, they get to a dungeon in D&D or whatever, and they're looking at where are we going to mount the ropes so that we can descend down into this thing, and what are we going to do with this, and how are we're going to set this up. Like, they're really grappling with the physical space. And aside from a few video games, like I said, like I just don't see that in the Vampire world. And Shadow City is designed to, you're grappling with the physical space. Like, you need to control this neighborhood like a territory, like an animal, or else other animals are going to prey on your territory and you're going to be screwed. So the solutions to that are not, I'm going to think up how my power will interact with their power and all that. No, like, people are like, well, we're going to let's go break into a store and steal a refrigerator. And we're going to start storing blood in the refrigerator. And we're going to build reinforced walls on this building so that nobody can get through. And we're going to put gun slits in it so we can shoot out at people that are on the street. Like these are real physical solutions, like D&D type solutions. And that's what I tell my wife all the time. Like, we're watching some movie and I'm like, whoever wrote this has never played D&D, because no D&D character would ever solve this problem this way. They would have barred that door and shot that guy. Like, it never would have gone down this way. And that's what I want to do. I want to create that experience. And I think players, when they grapple with the real world, well, the imaginary world, when they grapple with the imaginary world in a real way and they solve the problem, they feel satisfaction at having done that.
Totally.
Yeah, and that is kind of the end state goal emotion. Yeah,
that is something that I've noticed. I've only played a vampire anything once, and which is funny for those of you that watch me, because you think I'm a degenerate role player, and of course you're correct. But I never really was a vampire guy. It just didn't appeal to me. I played a vampire game, and I now understand what you're saying. Like, that idea of you want to be that powerful thing in the night that is dangerous and does things that, maybe a normal, sane person that's not a hideous monster wouldn't even consider. And so I can see the appeal. The one thing I've noticed, having watched lots of vampire games, because people sometimes people say to me, because I'll be complaining about some game, and they'll say, you should go check out this game, because this game we think you'll like it. And the truth of the matter is, I'm very hard to please.
Links, Crispy. They're finding the worst games out there for you.
So I'll go watch a vampire game, and I've watched a lot. I've watched something New York by Night, Los Angeles by Night. I've watched those two. I've watched them, and those are done by the people that release Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've noticed, and I just mentioned this because of something you just said, those games, though they're in character, for which I appreciate, very often there's a lack of physicality to the game. Yep. And what I mean by that is, when you watch it, you're like, oh, these guys, that's great. You can see that they're in character, but they're just talking heads until they're teleported to the next scene where they just have talking head conversations, that's not the same as what you're talking about. You're talking about a play style that is encouraging interaction with the world around it, and not just conversation. So a lot of these games that I've noticed when it comes to vampire games is that they're conversation games. now conversation's part of role playing, but there's not a lot of physicality that no one's really interacting with the world itself, where you're talking about how in your other fantasy games, people are looking for places to ambush. There's a, where are we going to tie the rope, or what are we going to do here? Is that a fair characterization of the gameplay that you're after?
I think there's some of this is at the root of what we saw today with the showgirl tweet.
Oh yeah, on X.
On X is part of the reason why people hate on the direction 5th edition is going so hard. I think comes down to ultimate goals of getting something out of the system. So if I play a game with my friends, doesn't matter whether it's a con game and I know these guys for 2 minutes, or whether it's my Saturday night crew that I've known for a decade, they look for, like, really, they're proud when they come up with a solution for a problem, right? And the people who seem to dominate the Wizards of the Coast view right now are people who they could care less about solving any problem or achieving anything in the game for their character. What their goal is for people to see them, the player, and go, ooh, look at how good their role playing is. Right. They're such a cool person.
It's a stage.
Look, yeah. And when one of my friends in my Saturday night game comes up with a great solution, he's proud of the solution, not himself. He's not like, I'm the greatest. Look at me, I'm so cool. He's like, that was such a cool thing that I figured out. And the kind of 5e 2024 perspective would be, well, look at what I performed. And isn't my performance great?
Right.
And a lot of us are just looking at these perspectives. We're like, you guys are a joke. Like, what are you even doing? It's kind of like there's a meme, and I don't know that this is gendered at all, but the meme is gendered. But there's a meme where there's like a guy showing something, and he's got like let's say it's a Lego set. There's Legos right here, right? Let's say he's holding the Lego set up in front of it, and like the entire view of the thing is the Lego set. And then it goes, and here's how the woman presents the Lego set, and her face is blocking like 75% of the Lego set, because the focus of the selfie is on her, not the Lego set. So that's the distinction that I think is important. Like, I'm focused on the Lego set. I don't care what you are. I don't care who you are, what race you are, what color you, what sex, whatever. I don't care. You could come to the game wearing a clown outfit. I don't give a shit. I care about what you do with that character at the table. That is what I care about, the Lego set that you're showing me, not your face blocking half of the Lego set. Right. That's what I care about. It's not about you. It's about what you're doing for the character. Yeah.
Okay. Could you speak a little bit about why you've selected Shadowrun as the base, the skeleton on which to build this?
Shadow Dark, you mean?
Shadow Dark, sorry. Shadow Dark. Why Shadow Dark?
Shadow nowadays.
Yeah, everything starts with Shadow now. There's a Shadow City thing I've heard about now. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's on Kickstarter.
This is the last thing I'm ever doing with the word shadow in it. It's too crowded of a space. Oh my God.
So no, excuse me. Yes, the Shadow Dark system is the basis for this rule set. Why that? What appealed to you about Shadow Dark for this game?
Well, Shadow Dark, by my estimation, people are free to disagree with me on this, but by my estimation, the reason why Shadow Dark is so successful is not any particular ingredient in the cake, but that by putting all of the mix of ingredients into the cake, it creates a cake that pleases the largest number of people at the table.
Gotcha.
So somebody might really want to stuff a bunch of ginger into the cake, and that would make the cake have a very special flavor, but most people don't want to sit down and have ginger cake, right? They want like vanilla, right?
Right.
So we can hate on vanilla, and we use that term as an insult. But remember, Portuguese people sailed halfway across the earth, killed people, and brought that shit back. Like vanilla is not like
it's not trivial,
widely available thing.
No,
it's a luxury item in most of my books.
It makes sense.
A lot of gold pieces to get vanilla.
There's in my day job, we have an expression that we say something is plain vanilla. Saying something is plain vanilla is not an insult. Saying it's plain vanilla, at least the way we use it, it means that it's not overcomplicated. It's just good.
That's right.
It's just that this is something that is gonna. There's nothing wrong with it. It's plain vanilla. That's usually seen like if the contract is super complicated, then it's not plain vanilla. And you're like, oh, what is it now? What are they trying to do now? And some things will be appealing. Some things are going to be better, but sometimes plain vanilla still the number one flavor for ice cream out there. So
I did want to say to K Dolo here, I don't mean to malign VTM. VTM is the second most successful role-playing game of all time.
Yeah, it's still being sold.
Yeah. It is incredibly successful. It speaks to a huge number of people, and I think that's great. 5th edition D&D sold a huge number of units. It's not for me, right? I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. What I'm saying is it doesn't produce the outcome that I want.
Right.
So even though one of my things that I say about Vampire is I love the setting and I don't love the system. And you accidentally said Shadowrun a minute ago. I also love that setting. And I don't like the system.
Yeah.
It's not. I have enormous love for the setting. I mean, the setting material is incredible. If it was just novels, I would have no complaints at all. Like the fictional content is top notch.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
My problem with it is how it actually plays out at the and one of the things that kind of sucks from a market perspective is that there's only one system to go with the setting for the most part. There's a few other vampire systems that just haven't been very successful. I think that there's probably great ideas in all of them. I haven't read a bunch of them. But Forgotten Realms, you can play that with OSE and AD&D. You can play that with 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th edition, 5th edition. You can even play it with Draw Steel, buddy.
What? Hold on. Yeah. No, hold on.
None of those games have any reflection on Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is its own thing, right? It doesn't. Who cares if you don't like 2nd edition or 4th edition or whatever your I hate that edition is? It doesn't have anything to do with Forgotten Realms. And that's the thing. Like, I think there's a lot of love for the vampire setting, and it's being held back by the system the system that they're using can't please everybody.
Right.
And so it pleases a ton of people. It doesn't please me. And so I made Shadow City because I just got hit, like I said at the beginning of this, like I just got hit by the muse and was like, here's the solution that you have been looking for. And I just ran with it. I wrote it down.
So is it fair to say then, Chubby, that this is a way for those of us that are more familiar with a D20 based system, reminiscent, not exactly like OSR stuff, but reminiscent of it, but with elements that are maybe more familiar to the 5e crowd with advantage, disadvantage.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like it's a mix of the flavors in the cake. Like, even if you don't like a particular element that goes in the cake, it doesn't mean that. Sorry, I'm trying to look up something real quick here.
Yeah, no problem.
It doesn't mean that you don't like the overall cake may still be okay, and the
Mhm.
number of people who are just okay with it is very broad.
Sure.
Right. So it's okay for a lot of people who might prefer Castles and Crusades, or they might prefer OSE, or they might prefer actually playing, second edition or AD&D, whatever. But that Shadowdark is okay for them. And then there's certain people who are just super excited, like this. They think it's the greatest thing ever, and so that mix creates just a huge amount of people that are actually interested in playing the game.
Right.
And it brings in eyeballs, it brings in marketing, it brings in stuff in a way that other stuff just doesn't seem to compete with it. And that's no judgment on them. I mean, there's certain foods and stuff that I like that are not popular foods. That doesn't mean they're not great to me.
Sure.
But this is just a popular food. It's the pizza, it's the barbecue, it's the whatever that
Gotcha.
Nobody wants to show up at your barbecue and you've only got very bitter fish. You may like.
Sorry, guys, it's Friday. You're gonna have
but that's not what most people are gonna want. So to me, that's the advantage.
That sounds fair, and that does. I think you've gone a little ways towards answering John Miller's question. Yeah, so he's asking any thoughts on working with any other RPG or even making your own, or is Shadowdark kind of fit as you were just describing? It seems to fit the bill for what you're looking for.
Well, it's running the database query right now, but I was just pulling it. Here we go. So, second edition of Ambition and Avarice has sold 286 units, right? And that's since
and just for those
July
that aren't aware,
because right? So 4 years.
Okay, this is your product.
It's moved into, just got to Electrum this year, right? And I've released stuff for Shadowdark that's hit that metric within a month.
Really?
Right? So I have a lot of ideas. I could write my own RPG. I could do all kinds of stuff. Who will be playing Chubby Funster's RPG? That is the question. And people will be like, well, you're selling out your idea. If I get hit like with Shadow City for here's my really cool idea that I want to, I put it in, I wrote 2 games. I've done all this stuff. It's just, it's not as successful of a product. And if you want people, everybody who's a creative, they're like, hey, I got this really cool idea. You want the maximum number of people to interact with that idea.
Oh, sure.
You don't want it to just tell it to the 5 guys on your block and then that's it. That's it. So I'm drawn to publishing things in a way that I think will have more widespread appeal. I don't compromise the things that I like to do that. I just choose to pursue. I have a wealth of I have hundreds of things that I want to do.
Sure.
I'm choosing to do the things that I want to do that I think will be successful.
It's successful for a reason. It's not that Shadowdark is successful for a reason. There's no, I see nothing wrong with using that to, as you were saying, market to a greater number of people that will be more amenable to giving it a try.
And maybe in 5 years, if I release a game that I wrote myself, it will be as successful. But
why not?
Marketing and promotion is a massively underappreciated part of the hobby.
Yeah, it totally is.
It is.
You got to go on tiny little YouTube channels and talk to weirdos.
There's YouTube channels out there that are producing incredible content that I think is great, but it is just not mass market appeal, so it does not go anywhere. Yeah,
that is true. That is true.
I was looking at this question from Elf Hunter.
Yeah, the question is whether or not the mechanics of the game are diegetic. Can you play? And this is coming from, I know Elf Hunter. He's a filthy role player. I mean, an aggressive role player, and he wants to be in character the whole time. So can you, with the mechanics of the game, stay at that character level more often than not? In your estimation?
Absolutely, because and this is one of the things I think is all the games in the OSR. I've written a game with skills, so I'm dunking on myself. Having skills forces people to think in a narrow band of those skills. But just saying, describe whatever you're doing, and the GM will just decide whether that falls under dexterity or constitution or whatever, right. And then they'll just have you roll a simple test. Lets you just describe whatever the hell you want. It doesn't give you a pre-written script of I'm using my diplomacy skill, I'm using my search skill, I'm doing that. Like, no. Just describe what it is you want, right. And the GM will pick on the back end and say, that's a strength test. Roll against the DC 12.
Roll DC 12 strength. That is okay. Great. Would it be appropriate? And again, totally up to you, sir. To speaking to Elf Hunter's question, and a few of my regular watchers who are really upset that I'm not tearing my hair out right now, but I'm sorry, you're just not going to get that in this one. They're looking for that kind of the character play. It's kind of what our shtick is over here. Can I read page 15, just that one column there talking about in character? I just want to read this. This is from, this is from this product that is currently up on Kickstarter. It's got 6 days left, I believe. Shadow City. Listen to this. This really stood out to me. It says that the heading is in character. You don't have to talk in a funny voice or throw around grandiose hand gestures to be in character. This is not an acting class. However, you do need to get inside that imaginary skull. Try to think from the perspective of your character. Amen, hallelujah. Keeps going. Avoid talking in third person or in the future tense. Yes. I did not shadow write this. Got to throw another shadow in here. I didn't shadow write this, but boy, I'd love to take credit for it. Avoid talking in third person or in future tense. Thank you. Tell the GM exactly what you are doing at the moment in first person. Oh, magnificent. Don't just control or manipulate the character. Be the character. Do not directly ask the GM for information. This is so good. Why did you put that line in there? That's just a short line. How many words is that? It's just incredible to me. Do not directly ask the GM for information.
Because it happens all the time. It happens with guys that I love to death and I've been friends with for 12 years.
Oh,
or something, and they'll say, is this thing a certain way? And I'm like,
can I do this?
You don't know that. Like,
so this is so, it's so important. I'm so glad you put it in there, and I have to read the rest of it, and I'll just go quickly through it. It's just so good. This is so good. I love this. Instead of directly asking the GM for information, tell them what your character is doing to acquire it. Let's assume the GM has described a room, with a desk and filing cabinets. Don't say, are there any hidden compartments in the desk? I know you guys have said this. Don't say that. Instead, you suggest the GM cannot answer that question because your character hasn't taken any action toward learning the answer. Instead, say, as the player, I go right up to the desk and examine it closely. I open and close the drawers. I look around for anything unusual. You describe what your character is doing and let the GM tell you what happens, or like you had mentioned earlier, set the DC of the check, roll the dice. The dice will say what if it's a success or not. Try not to focus on the game rules as much as what seems realistic to you as a person. I just think that is so good. I applaud that. I think that you deserve praise for writing something like that. That is not the kind of advice that I read in most modern games. It's just not.
That's very unfortunate, but because like I said, the way that the player gets into that mind space is by doing that. They can't just sit back and abstractly consider whether or not they like would have figured a thing out or and then make a roll to figure, like try to actually figure it out like you would a real person. And that's why I was emphasizing earlier, like the D&D character players will come up with all these just real solutions to a problem. I'm going to build a fire right here, and I'm going to put a wall on this side so the smoke goes that way. Like they think about the world in a physical way. And so when you've got, in Shadow City, you want to take over a neighborhood, there's a physical location where all of the people that are your rivals live and sleep. They don't live in inaccessible high rises that have armed guards at the gate or whatever. Like maybe some of them do, maybe the prince does, but like most of these people are trying to actually live in a situation where they can go out into the world and come back and go. Right. People don't live in bunkers in real life, like they have relatively open. So follow that person, track that, see what you can do. But the police a lot of times in real life know all of the gangsters. They know all these guys. They just can't touch them because of some rule of evidence that they don't have enough.
Or they bought off the judge, or they have the police in their pocket.
Know your enemies and then interact with them as physical things. Yeah.
I just think it's so good. That's just great advice, regardless of the game you're playing. I mean, that page is just really, really good. As I read that through, I was like, oh yeah, I found myself nodding. Don't just ask a bunch of out of character questions. You can do all of that in character by describing, as you say, describe what you're doing in the moment. I think that's great. Question here from Ultra American TTRPGer saying, basically a question about the lore. Is the lore so dense in this? There is no lore
in Shadow City.
There you go. You go.
It's what's the phrase from national parks? Bring only, take only pictures, leave only footprints. Yeah, like whatever you bring into the game is what you're bringing into it. You don't have to know the 400-year background of the La Sombra clan in order to play the game. There's a mechanic where the GM can create clans and organizations for people to be a member of, but all that is creating a shared talent that multiple people can have at once, right? So if you're going to have guys in the CIA, then they all have a talent that lets them do a certain amount of computer work and might give them an advantage to this and that kind of check and so on. And then that's it. That's the whole CIA. Like that's the level of rendering. We don't have to figure out every single guy's level of competence in all these different things.
Fairly simple, Chubby, would you say, to generate those talents? If you're like,
hey, you should make them up. Yeah. And the GM just makes up so as needed. So if they never run into a CIA guy, then they don't even need that. But as soon as they run into a CIA guy, the GM can just write down like he's good at hacking, and then that becomes like the shared talent that the members of the CIA in this world have, and he could just add to that later if he wants. But it becomes his lore. It's not anything. I don't have to provide it. And since I don't have to provide it, I don't have to also educate everybody on it beforehand.
So you don't give people, this is not a game where you're going to have to read up a 200-page, this is everything you need to know about this clan, or it's not quite as dense lore-wise.
I saw somebody ask a question about Corella's Witchcraft. I have played that game.
This one here. Yeah.
I did have some good games with that. It's a little too story gamey for me now, but I think it has a lot of good ideas. I think everybody who's really big in the creative space, something I kind of aspire to be as well, is like, it's like a Monty Cook type of person, has played or watched or read so much more. They've experienced so much more than the average gamer. They've played in all these different types of games. They've seen TPK after TPK after TPK. They've seen success. They've seen all this stuff. They're not limited in their view by some narrow experience. So I try to be as open-minded as possible, read all as many games as I can, watch live plays. That's how I end up finding your channel.
I'm so sorry.
Stuff like that, because I want to know. When I went to North Texas this year, I got into 7 games, and all of the choices were made because I was looking at the schedule before the con and registering it. I picked all of these GMs that I was like, I want to see how this guy runs this game.
Totally.
Here's a guy who's really good at running this one game. I'm going to play in that guy. I'm going to play in that game. I'm play, and I was there. It was like a zoological expedition of like what is
probably
what
smelled
is
like
doing?
that too, but maybe not so bad. Maybe North Texas Con isn't as bad as some of these other cons.
Yeah, and was not Gen Con by any.
Okay, there you go. So it's all right. Keep those Pokemon players out.
Yeah, that's 500 people. But yeah, like I wanted to go there and play in the. I don't want to play in some rando dude who I don't know has any particular skill. Like I'm there to learn something.
Sure. And
I might learn something from that rando dude, but if I know that this guy like specializes in vampire, specializes in gangbusters.
Oh yeah, totally.
I want to play that game so I can see what's going on, because it's very hard to get kind of situational awareness in this hobby because there's so much going on.
There's lots.
It's crazy.
The question here from K Dolo asking if the game is more of a villainous power game than Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not quite sure what's meant by that.
I agree with I see what he's saying. It definitely is. It's a game for power mongering, murders, and
gotcha.
Ladder climbers.
This is going to appeal to most of my audience.
Yeah. So the goal of the game going in is to live as long as possible, and the way to do that, like if you're a mafia boss, is to kill everybody who could be a problem, and then you take all of the power, right? So you start out controlling nothing when you start to create your character. Every time you take over a point of interest within the neighborhood, it's like you're getting a blood rent by controlling these. So like you control the nightclub, so you're getting like a free blood point every night because of easy access to the nightclub, right?
Right.
The more you control, the more free blood you're going to get, the more powerful you're going to become, the more XP you're going to get. XP is derived by taking money from mortals, right? So if I steal somebody's Jaguar, that is, it's not actually transferred to me. I don't own the Jaguar. If the police find the Jaguar, it's gone. I don't own it. But if I go into a rich guy's mansion and force him to sign over the Jaguar to me,
right,
that is XP.
Okay.
So actually acquiring the things is the XP. So the focus as you get more powerful is who are the biggest people that I can rob and confiscate stuff from. And eventually it will be the other supernatural people in the city who have been doing this before you got here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you do mention a prince, and there's that kind of, there's different scales of power. I wanted to ask you this question because this is going to come up. I understand this is a topic that is near and dear to vampire games in general. How do you handle the hunger mechanic, the hunting, feeding, that side of the vampire experience?
So I'll start with the role-playing side of it. So every character has a compulsion as a part of their character design. It's randomly rolled off a table. I think it's a D10 or a D12 off the top of my head. I can't remember. Okay. This is the part of your personality that is attached to kind of the primal part of your animalistic element. Okay. And so as you lose blood and you go down to, you had 5 out of 5 blood points, and now you're at 3 out of 5, and now you're at 2 out of 5. That aspect of your personality gets ramped up because you're becoming more animalistic. So if it's arrogance, if it's violence, or whatever it is, like
Sure.
that will start really coming out. Inability to accept losses, stuff like that, like whatever it is. Like I can't remember all of them on the top of my head, but
Okay.
yeah, like that part comes out of it. Now, eventually, you get down to the point where you have to start making frenzy checks. There's a mechanic for that. If you fail the frenzy check, that means that kind of the animal part of you just takes over,
Okay.
and you just basically grab the nearest human and feed on them until you're satiated. Now, that will almost always just kill the human, because most humans are not holding 6 or 8 blood points. So you're just going to take 2 or 3 and then they're going to die.
Okay.
Now, when that happens, it's going to create a whole series of cascading problems for you. You're likely not in a place where nobody's noticing this, right? It's like probably happening on the side of the street. And so it goes down. So that causes all kinds of problems. You also lose humanity points. I have humanity in a different way than in Vampire. It's a double-edged sword modifier. So when whatever your humanity is from a positive perspective is added to reaction checks, classic D&D reaction checks. So if you're at -4, you're putting -4 on every reaction check, and you are not going to get along well with others, right?
Okay.
If you're at +3, you're friendly and nice, and people think that you're not a vampire, right? If whatever your value is, the opposite of it is applied as a combat modifier. So as you get more monstrous, you become really good at killing people.
Okay.
So every player probably going to have their own sweet spot of like, well, I want that reaction bonus, or I want to actually be better at fighting. I don't care about the reaction, but maintaining that, because if as soon as you kill somebody from feeding, it goes down, right? So now you become a monster. So now you need to start like, well, I need to be nicer. I need to do other things. So not only are you dealing with real world consequences of you doing the thing, there's all this kind of mechanical of, I can't get drift. If you drift too low, you become an NPC. So don't do that. You'll just become a monster.
Right.
In terms to answer kind of Ethan's angle, the regular hunting, the way to avoid all that happening is that every night you need to spend a certain amount of time hunting. And you can devote, it's a variable amount of hours at your discretion that you're spending hunting. The more hours you spend, the more patient you are, the better the opportunity. You're not rushing things. So if you spend 3 hours, you'll have a much better roll than if you are trying to find somebody in 1 hour and you need to get somewhere else and you don't have time for this shit. So if you fail that roll, it also goes, but it causes all kinds of real world consequences. So there's like how much patience do I have to deal with this thing? And all of those things are tied to every night you only have 12 hours. So if you're spending 3 hours hunting, that's 3 hours you aren't spending patrolling, looking, scouting, fighting somebody that you need to, hunting down somebody that's a problem for you, stealing things, whatever it is. So there's the focus of kind of day-to-day, night-to-night gameplay is balancing all those resources. Do I need blood? Do I need money? Or what's our security situation? Who's going to be doing this? Is the guy who's really good at fighting should probably not be the one going around trying to make our diplomatic moves. We should have, so there's all this kind of balance within the niche protection of each class that some people are better at other things. There's all the actual balancing out of the time. I don't have 5 hours to hunt. I only have 2, so I'm taking a risk. So all those things get balanced out, and so I feel like it doesn't come like, it's not like Vampire where it's like I'm grappling with my eternal damnation or anything. It's do I have 3 hours to devote to this task or not? I got shit to do. I got places to be. I'm going to only spend an hour. Oh, damn, I killed the guy. Now I got a problem. Right. And I feel like that aligns more with an emotionless monster that is a parasite on people, right? Like I feel like a mafia boss perspective is more appropriate. And so if you want to role play that out, like if you want to, I had a guy when we were doing the play testing, he was a DJ. He went and just DJ'd for a few hours one night just because he didn't want to be involved in what the other guys were doing. That's totally cool. Like that's fine. But time waits for no man, you know, like he's going to be just as hungry from blood loss as everybody else. So he just doesn't have the blood now. Yeah.
Sure. Which is the cool thing, because then it reinforces the believability of the world if time actually exists in the world and it's not easily switched off.
You just made me think of it. It makes it so you can predict NPC behavior better because you know they're under the same constraints as you. So if there's an NPC vampire, you know that he has these same needs. He needs to be patrolling his territory, or rivals could come in. So you know at some point in the night he's going to have to move his way through this hex. So you could ambush, you know, you could do this kind of stuff. Just like gangs in real life, they know that that the other gang is going to be on a particular corner because they need to be selling drugs on that corner, whatever it is.
Right. No, Rolling Stag had a great question here for those that are potential backers of Shadow City. My understanding is that this is the complete game.
It is.
Yes. You just need this. You get this, away you go. All you need is some players. Go for it.
I released it under the Shadow Dark license, the third-party license, because it makes it so that if anybody wants to release stuff under mine, it would be under the same. They would benefit from the same third-party license. So somebody could write up a neighborhood and release it under that.
And
and it also makes it so that there are strong similarities in certain parts of the game to Shadow Dark because I love Shadow Dark and is inspired by Shadow Dark. So I don't want there to be any like implication that like Greg invented all this shit on his own. Like kind of like it's under the Shadow Dark license. It came from Shadow. There's a it's not in your version, but I've written up a little statement in the front about my appreciation for Kelsey Dion. Like,
yeah, she's a quality human being. There's no question.
She deserves a lot of credit for the mechanical way of doing these things because I think that they work, particularly like randomly generating towns that she developed, the way of randomly generating dungeons that she developed. The system of resolving checks is identical to Shadow. Like she got that 100% right. Like it's perfect from my perspective. So I'm, you know, whatever similarities there is between that part of my book and that part of her book, like it's covered, it's under the light, like these are her ideas in that respect. Yeah.
There's some interesting things here about the classes. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Bloodlines and classes?
Yeah. So the bloodlines are the biological component of your body. So there's 6 of them. There's one that's bestial, that's got like animalistic qualities. There's one that is a foreigner who's kind of out of their place here, from Hong Kong, or they're from Poland or whatever. Like they're from far away. They have advantages from being from a different place. They can blend into their own group easily, like going to Chinatown or whatever. But they stick out and they have kind of a mystique about them, right? So each one of these things has its own drawbacks, but it's inherent. You can't get rid of it. It's part of you. And then the classes are all the things that your vampire has been developing with their blood ability. So like they've been putting time into learning how to turn into a bat. They've been putting time into being able to control animals. So they're an autarch, which is the class that's more like a Transylvanian vampire. If they instead were spending all their time on the computer or learning medicine or something, they'd be in the expert class, right? So the classes are what they're doing with their time. And I feel like that's the only way to make sense that you're going to be getting better at those things over time. Like if you're not spending the time, why would all of a sudden something you inherited from somebody physically manifest because you've got enough XP? Like
Right.
XP is tied to you doing things. So all of the class stuff that's advancing, that's getting better, is based on you getting XP and you doing things in the game. And there's other aspects of the character design that are, people will see some inspiration from Vampire the Masquerade here. There's one called Assets, which is NPCs that are assets for you, like the way the CIA talks about somebody being an asset. Like, this is my guy in City Hall. I've taken over this bank account and I can go to the banker and get the money. You've got these assets that you can call upon, but the later you wait in the night to call upon it, the worse the check is. The DC keeps going up. So if you wait until 4 a.m. to call the mayor's office, you're going to have a hard time getting something done, right? And then there's other aspects of the character, like the compulsions. There's touchstones, which is from 5th edition Vampire, where these are people that you care about in the world, and they keep you grounded as a person. So like the kid you want to see graduate from high school who's got it tough. So you need to be going and checking in on that kid and making sure that he's doing good, or else if you don't, your humanity score will start to drop, and then you'll have problems from that.
So that's that touchstone. There are others too. It was interesting to me with the assets. You've got this mechanic called burning an asset.
Yes.
You want to talk about that? I think that's an interesting.
You're the first person to ask me about this.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like a gambling technique in a sense, because players have a tendency to accumulate, right? And I wanted there to be some mechanic where they could be tempted to destroy their own things. So you try to call that guy at City Hall, and you fail the check. But you really need that guy, like you need him tonight. So you burn it, and he does. You're able to get in touch with him. You like go to his house. You make it really awkward. Right, like you're like, I need to talk to you right now, sir. I don't care about your wife. We gotta talk. And you ruin him as an asset. He won't work with you anymore, but he'll do the thing you need tonight.
That's so cool,
right? So I see it as a way of, it's almost like a carrion crawler cleaning out the dungeon. Your own greed is going to remove the assets from your character sheet, and then you're going to go, oh shit, I need to spend time getting another asset.
I think that's a very interesting mechanic, and it stood out to me because I'm like, okay, normally you would have a check and you do an asset check, but
let me say it. Thanks, John, for the very kind words.
Yeah, and there were some other
there were some others too.
There were some others too that were pretty excited about this. I think it was Elf Hunter here up was talking about when I was singing your praises for chapter 15. And I think that prompted this. So here you go. So there we are. This is hopefully not a waste of Mr. Funster's time, but there's more in here. Tell us a little bit about the generators. There's a lot of generators in this product. Do you want to just briefly touch on some of the, you've already talked about the city generator. There's places of interest. There's all sorts of things. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think having random tables is an essential part of old school play for a reason. And the reason is that it allows people to run the game as a GM without having to think of every goddamn thing ahead of time. So if they decide to go into the forest, you roll on the forest encounter table. You don't have to have planned out a whole forest encounter. Now, the reason why that's good for old school play and bad, if you don't have that, if you don't use those tools, then every time you say, oh, I'm going to do this, then the GM isn't expecting it. The GM is tempted to bend you back to their will in a quantum ogre kind of way.
Get back on the rails.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
I hate that too.
Yeah. And so I don't want the GM to be tempted by that at all. If you say, I'm going to go into that, what is that building right there? The GM can roll on a table and say, it's a laundry and it's run by Australians and blah blah. Like they can just boom. There's what it is.
Cool.
They don't have to bend it back and be like, guys, I put all the cool stuff over there. You know, like no, every place that they want to go, you can just make it. Every
Cool.
neighborhood, if it's random encounter check comes up, you don't have to think of what it is. It's here we go. It's this, and the GM people just need like it's like a blank page problem when you're trying to write. Like they just need the first sentence.
Sure.
The sentence that says, it's a defector from the Soviet Union that just got off the airplane, and there's 2 CIA guys that are escorting him through the airport, and you see him. What do you do? Like the players may just let him go. Be like, I'm not getting involved with the CIA. F that, But they might be like, hey, he might be worth a lot of money. This is the right buyer, if we kill that guy, it'll make this other guy that we met earlier very happy because he's a Soviet guy. I don't build in a lot of Cold War stuff. I'm just like riffing that, but like there is a Soviet defector in the airport encounter table. You can get him. You can get a lot of like stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the encounter tables that are not combats. They're just random stuff that happens on the street.
And I brought it up, Chubby. I'm sorry to interrupt. I brought it up because there's lots here. Like, so this is the kind of thing. I really like this. I appreciate this in OSR products. I own a few of what's his name, Kevin Crawford's stuff. Worlds Without Number, Stars Without Number, because of these generators that are in there, which are very good to, as you say, Chubby. They just spark the imagination, and you don't.
Who hasn't gotten some sci-fi book as like a teenager or whatever, and sat down and just started randomly generating whole planets, right? Like I think like that's like a fundamental part of being a young nerd. Like you're like, oh, you get Traveler, or you get World Without Number, whatever it is, and you're like, I'm just going to roll up a whole solar system of all these planets, and this is an arboreal planet, and this is a desert planet. Yeah, I mean, like that's coolness. I love it. Yeah.
There's a question here from Dice Tales, and I, having read through the pre-release copy, I don't recall reading about this, but you can let us know if Dice wanted to play like a vampire hunter or something like that. Would that be? Could you just grab one of the NPC templates and
I would say just grab like the opponents chapter and monsters. Right?
Yes.
The opponents chapter has 5 or 6 human character monsters. There's a fanatic, there's a police officer, there's a soldier, there's a criminal, and so on. You could just take one of those and use it as your stat bases. Just the same way that like if you're playing D&D and somebody was like, I want to be a gnoll, you could just give them the gnoll monster stat block and be like, there you go, you're a gnoll. I wouldn't really want to run a whole campaign like that because there's no character advancement. But what you could do is kind of come up with another game chassis that would be roughly compatible. People have talked about using Viktor Gorchev's Blacklight, which is like
that's an interesting one.
Forces guys hunting down.
It's what attracted me so much about that one is it's like Monster Hunter International.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of X-Files.
So
like,
X-Files. I just think, oh, this sounds like a Larry Correia book, and man, that sounds like so much fun.
And people have said like you could just play. You could use all this to make all the vampires, and then just play as Blacklight if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah. Because it is built around Shadow Dark. Really, you could take what you wanted from this, but there is some things here that are specific to Shadow City. Could you tell us a little bit about the neon aspect of the Blood and Neon? Because I know that there is something. There's a specific reason that it's called Blood and Neon.
Because it's in the 80s.
It's in the 80s.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
And the 80s is the apex of American culture. This is true for individual people as well as entire countries, that you build your identity around what you're opposed to a large degree. And in the Cold War, the United States had an enemy, and it defined itself in contrast to that enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it kind of like your white blood cells. When there's a disease in the body, the white blood cells are the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you get Iron Eagle and Die Hard and Top Gun and Back to the Future and all that's like, we're the greatest.
Do you remember the American Ninja? Do you remember the
exactly. Yes. How many movies did they, like all Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, all the Sylvester Stallone,
Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, exactly. And all of the
and then once the Soviet Union was taken away from the equation, the white blood cells turned on the host, and they started attacking. And we've spent 30 years now attacking our own body politic, and we're like a compulsive drug user who's picking their own scabs. It's ridiculous. Now, and I hate it, and that's why I don't want to make any game that goes after the 80s unless it's getting worse every year after the 80s. And that is exactly what happens here, because the game has an apocalypse timer, and every 5 years it ticks up by 1, and that means that you'll hit 10, which is the apocalypse, in 2031, which is coming up. But you can also add to the apocalypse timer by screwing up really bad and making people very aware that you're a vampire. So I don't need a masquerade, because if you break the masquerade, like, you're going to get killed. The other vampires are going to want to kill you. Eventually all the humans are going to want to kill you. So the apocalypse that you're building up to is the humans realizing that you're there, and the jig is up. So if you get to that point, some people have said, like, that's when you switch over to Blacklight and hunt down your former player characters as spec ops. You know, like, if the humans realize that vampires are real and not just imaginary, they will murder them all, just like, of course, like we wiped out wolves and other predators from our spaces. There's, we don't tolerate that. So the only way to live is by being secretive. Right. And so it's a big part of the game. Like, Shadowdark has the light, the torch mechanics and all this stuff. And
can we, again, I'm a terrible interviewer, Chubby. I'm always interrupting, but there on page 101, speaking to this torch mechanic, this page is called, and don't quote me on the page numbers, folks. This was a pre-release copy that was kindly provided so I could review it. There's this section here called "Create Constant Pressure," and if I may, just a couple sentences. It says, "Don't fall into the trap of letting PCs respond to problems at their leisure. Every night in Shadow City should have 2 steady pressures that crowd into every decision: time and mortals. These constraints will drive play. Solutions must be devised that won't attract attention. Players cannot slowly search every street, every neighborhood, every site." And then you give a few things to consider. I think that speaks to that torch mechanic.
Yeah, the mortals are the torch. Yeah.
There you go.
If you screw up, the mortals walk around the corner and see you with blood all over your face and your chest, and that you're hosed. And the way that the apocalypse stuff works is, every time you go to bed in the morning and there's somebody that knows about something you did, when you wake back up for the next night, it will have doubled. So very quickly that number will get huge. So if 10 people see you do something and you don't take them all out, when you go to sleep, you wake up to 20 people that you have to take out now, and then 40 people, and then 80 people. Like, it becomes, and these are not like, if you kill 24 people in New York in one night, like, you will be noticed. Like, that will not go.
This is going to be absolutely.
So the bigger the problems begin to sprawl out of control, and then that's when you get another apocalypse timer point. And every time that happens, all the NPCs, and I tell the GM, like, the NPCs should, their solution should be to just kill you. Like, you're the problem. Somebody saw a guy, there's no more guy. You know, like he doesn't exist anymore. You know, so that's a strong pressure. If it's like how many movies where there's like a mook, and the thing he's afraid of is not the police or the bad guy. It's his own boss finding out what happened. Like, that should be like, you should always be terrified that the other vampires are gonna hear about what you did and want to come get a piece of you.
So can you talk a little bit about the vampire factions? Like why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Seems to be an important component of vampire games.
It's something I don't, as far as I know, there's no mechanic anybody's proposed in any official product for vampire to create your own clan structure. But there is a path in Shadow City for you to make your own clan, which is the idea is that clans will form organically by people who just get really powerful. So if your group of 7 characters or 5 or whatever becomes powerful up to a certain point, you're going to want to kind of formalize that relationship because you've got people to manage underneath you. You're essential part of vampires kind of ethos is vampires are making new vampires. So all the vampires you make that are downstream of you, any ghouls that you make, humans that you've fed some blood to, turn them into superpowered people, they need you. Like, you're a manager of people, like retainers in D&D. So you need some kind of structure. So you'll create like a shared discipline that you say, everybody at the table, we're going to come up with a thing with the GM in collusion with the GM, and everybody that's a part of our group is going to have this ability, and you work towards doing it. What's up, Gary? So
thanks for coming in, Gary. Yeah,
Gary Lewis. Yeah. So once you have that shared ability, it then becomes inherited downstream, just like your bloodline. So if you guys decide that you're going to have this shared discipline of you have some kind of great eyesight that you guys have been working on, some way of making it so that you have better aim and better, like, you're more like Jason Bourne, you're really fast thinking visually or whatever, and you get an awareness bonus to your stat, whatever. And then you make a new vampire, and that vampire will have that bonus also. And then they make every ghoul that you make will get that
same bonus.
So you have I didn't provide a formal way of doing it because I wanted to have creativity. So it's an informal process of you have to work with your GM, and the GM has to kind of feel like this would be a fair thing for you to distribute. If it's overpowered, that's a GM problem. I can't deal with that. But if I provided mechanical choices, then people would just be like, the best mechanical choice.
Sure, they just always pick the same
all
thing.
Make clans to do that. Like, it happens in whatever it is. So it should be flexible and it should fit how you're playing. If you guys are playing the game where you're constantly approaching problems in a particular way, then the clan bonus should reflect that. Like we're extra stealthy. We're good at using flamethrowers, whatever it is.
Right.
Like, this is what we're good at. And then you pass that down, and other NPC groups are the GM's encouraged to have them do that over time. So that will also be built organically with random tables, right? So if the GM keeps rolling that the vampires in this particular neighborhood are showing up with criminals as the people that they've got as mooks, then eventually they could create a clan that has some kind of criminal element to the talent, right? Whatever it is, and that emerges over play. We had I've talked about this on a few streams. It was a big surprise for me. I was rolling up a gang, and I said, you know what? I don't have I don't want to make this all gangsters to be mafia or Mexicans or Jamaicans or all the popular tropes, whatever. I was like, I'm just going to roll on the nationality table. And I got Australians. So I got the
Always
first
up to no good.
Australian gang, right, that I had ever heard. Like these were like Australian drug running gang members. And that just got created that way, like organically. Like that's the power of the random table. I would never have thought I'm going to make this Australian gang and they're going to say "Good day, mate" while they kill everybody. Like that never would have come up. But the random table made me come up with that.
Well, you Aussies out there, we have several Australians that normal viewers.
I'm a big fan of Australians.
Oh, sure, why not? That's great. Anything else? As I want to respect your time, and you're doing the whole circuit. You're on many places. I want, just as those of you that are just tuning in, I did put a link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video. Please check it out. I do think I have it open here. I just wanted to check in on it. Yeah, going well. 302 backers now. 6 days to go. 305 backers. Good job, guys. That's fantastic.
Oh, it's come up quite, about $170 since when
that's fantastic. Thank you very much for supporting an indie creator, a real gentleman, Chubby Funster. He's done a lot of work on this. And I had asked him before we started, is this fair to say it's a labor of love? And he's absolutely. It's just kind of came pouring out. You found your muse, you said.
Yes, there's a part of Greek philosophy of like the muse is in control of you. It's not you have to just do what the muse wants you to do. If you're driven to sculpt, then that's what you do, right? It's not a thing that you control. And every day, my brain goes in a direction with creativity that I just have to write down. A lot of times I can focus it sometimes, but a lot of times it just comes up with shit, man. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? I'm like, okay.
I mean, it's just such an interesting vibe to me, Chubby, the 1980s vampire city generator, urban style campaign, sandbox, very much sandbox style, I would say. I think that's fair to say. Excellent generators, all sorts of generators. Like there's just, I was shocked at how many. I love the fact that you had encounter ideas by location, by neighborhood, municipalities. There's lots and lots of stuff here. I was shocked at first when I opened up the pre-release review copy on my computer, and it's not small. Like I was expecting 50 pages, 60 pages. No, it is not. This is a serious book.
The final count is 2. I wrote it in the Kickstarter so I wouldn't have to remember it every time.
It's looking at there.
It's like 240 pages.
240 pages.
Yeah, 238. There it is.
238 with all sorts of stuff. This is going to be familiar to anyone who's played OSR style games or Shadow Dark. It's I think there's enough new things here with the blood points and there were several commenters that really latched on to your comment about how you can have higher humanity, which allows you to be more human-like and interact with the mortals around you, but then take a penalty when it comes to your combat prowess as a monstrous vampire. Or you take the monstrous approach, it's going to be very hard for you to relate to those flesh, blood bag humans all around you.
That's right.
But you're very strong in combat. You go too far that way, you're just an NPC. You just lose all rationality and become a monster.
Because you have to work with people to some degree.
Yeah.
You can lean on your party members, but everybody's played that dwarf with -2 charisma or whatever. Eventually you do have to work with people. Like you have to talk to somebody and it's like, oh man, I'm rolling this at -5. boom, oh, God, yeah.
This is great. Yeah, it's you know what? I think this is great. I'm so impressed when I see a passion project, and I get the impression, having read this, this is a passion project. Very well done. Love the black and white art. It just fits the 1980s vibe. Like I read through this, like this is so reminiscent of those beautiful 1980s game books that some of us are old enough to remember. And that was great. I really liked the art style here, the black and white art style. It's really good. So yeah. So any closing thoughts here before I let you get back to your family and your marketing schedule, which is intense. It's intense.
I did want to say, it's kind of my final point of the night, that you really don't want to be doing any metagaming. Okay, you guys, what you got to do is you read the module and you learn where everything is, and you tell all the other players. But here's the thing: you act using that knowledge, and it's not metagaming. You see, you know what I'm saying? You feel? Yeah, that's what you got to do, guys.
Oh man, that's hilarious. You know what? I kind of an inside joke there. Many of you know what that's talking about, but
watch his video from last night if you did not get that joke.
Yeah, please do. Check it out. There's a lot of products out there, folks, that are competing for your attention and your hard-earned cash. And I think it's so good. We've got other friends of the channel, other people that have released products recently that are really worth checking out. I would invite you, click on the Kickstarter link, check it out, see if it speaks to you, but hopefully it does. And if not, at least you've given a little bit of traffic so that the algorithms that run our everyday lives can put that in front of someone else that may be interested. I want to thank my guest, Chubby. Thank you for coming on my little YouTube channel. I know it's probably not a good payoff for your time, but it's I do appreciate that, and I appreciate those that have watched and had questions. We had a fairly lively chat, which is always good to see. And I wish you all the best, sir. I really do. I hope this project already successful. So let's just put that out there. This project
we only had a $1,000 funding goal, and we're 7 times that now.
It is. It's going strong. There's 6 full days left. I hope that as we were talking before we went live, I think that it's a great model. Take a look at how it's being done. This is not, and this is a finished product. Okay. This is not the kind of thing where, hey, give me your money and golly gee shucks, I will absolutely make you something someday. It's ready to go. It's ready to go. This is, I think this is playable. My final thought on this is page 15 is just a thing of beauty. Page 15, talking about being in character and what that's about. As a filthy degenerate role player like me, an aggressive role player, as we are sometimes called, I thought that was just great. It was just icing on the cake. So thank you very much for being on my little show, and everyone that watched, thank you very much.
Thank you for all the guys in the chat. I can't possibly respond to everything, but it was much appreciated.
Absolutely.
And you're welcome to clip that out and put it up as a short and get some more Draw Steel haters to come at you.
Oh man. Yeah, they are they're vocal, and yeah, that's okay. I'm okay. I'll be all right. Us Gen Xers, we don't get to we're pretty unflappable. So it's all good. Thank you, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. This has been a special edition of I don't even know what to call this. Just a nice conversation with a nice man that's got a product. Yeah, there you go. So this is good advice. Solicited advice. Have a great night, folks. We'll catch you soon. Talk to you later. Bye.